Greetings, people of the internet, it is me, the artist mostly referred to as Holder539, and today we are going to do a response video to one of the biggest lolcows on the internet nonetheless. We're going to respond to the impeccable logic of PragerU. And while the video in question is really old, like 3 years or so, it actually was recommended to me by YouTube, next to a video by the amazing atheist of all people, so if that's not enough reason to respond to this thing, I don't know. Oh wait, there's more. As you can see, the title of the video is Why Modern Art is So Bad, and the title sums up the opinion the guy in the video has about modern art pretty good. So since I am an artist and this is modernity, I am triggered and I want to respond. Also, I have already downloaded the clip, so might as well debunk their bollocks, shall we? But before we do so, here, somewhere on the screen, I mean, I don't have it in front of me now as I am recording this, but you should see the source for this video somewhere. Look, I'm even giving it according to proper MLA standard. Isn't that nice of me? Now with this out of the way, I'm just gonna roll the intro, and after that, an old man will start to talk to you patronizingly. Sounds good? Great, then let's go!
Attention, this is an announcement from the New World Order. Please remain calm and stay seated while we are injecting subliminal messages. Welcome to the cabinet of the strange and macabre.
The Mona Lisa, the Pietà, the girl with a pearl earring.
Overrated, and yeah, okay, that one's pretty nice. Pardon me, I didn't want to cut you off there.
For a score of centuries, artists enriched Western society with their works of astonishing beauty. The Night Watch, the Thinker, the Rocky Mountains.
Sunflowers, Landscape with the Fall of Icarus, and the Creation of Adam. See, I also can randomly name drop some famous pieces of art.
Master after master, from Leonardo to Rembrandt to Bierstadt, produced works that inspired, uplifted, and deepened us. And they did this by demanding of themselves the highest standards of excellence, improving upon the work of each previous generation of masters, and continuing to aspire to the highest quality attainable.
And I guess we've entered word salad territory. And while it might appear that this guy is going to argue for some universal standard of quality in art, he's not so much going to argue for it rather than just state that it's there without giving any kind of criteria. But yes, that's what he's going for.
But something happened on the way to the 20th century. The profound, the inspiring, and the beautiful were replaced by the new, the different, and the ugly.
What? They've come up with some new buzzwords and they've written them down in orange? Wow, well, that's new, different, and ugly indeed.
Today, the silly, the pointless, and the purely offensive are held up as the best of modern art.
Well, I really don't know why you put those words on the screen, but they sure as hell would make for a good band name.
This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless, purely offensive.
Michelangelo carved his David out of a rock. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art just offers us a rock. A rock. All 340 tons of it. That's how far standards have fallen.
Whoa, buddy, hold on there. A rock? I mean, if you say it like that, it really sounds kind of outrageous, but I'm sure there's a good reason for why that rock is there at the museum. I mean, I could look it up if you were to, I don't know, give us the name of the piece of art, or at least the artist. What? You're not going to do that? Okay, then I guess then I have to just go on and type Los Angeles Museum of Art Giant Rock into Google like a fucking idiot. And I bet that way it will only take me about like 30 seconds or so to find out which giant rock at the museum you're talking about. And there we have it. I believe the nice grandpa in the video is referring to a piece called Levitated Mass by Michael Heitzer. A piece of art that isn't even a statue but a large-scale installation, which, as the artist puts it, is aiming at destroying the concept of Gestalt, or in other words, aims at not looking like a statue or anything. So, congratulations, I guess. You completely missed the point.
How did this happen? How did the 1,000-year ascent towards artistic perfection and excellence die out?
Well, I don't know. Did it have something to do with the New World Order?
It didn't.
Oh, okay. Did it happen because of, communism then?
It didn't.
Okay, just tell me already.
It was pushed out. Beginning in the late 19th century, a group dubbed the Impressionists rebelled against the French Académie des Beaux-Arts and its demand for classical standards. Whatever their intentions, the new modernists sowed the seeds of aesthetic relativism, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder mentality.
Well, I never heard of this French art revolution, but those revolutionaries must have done a pretty shitty job compared to that other famous French revolution, because the Académie des Beaux-Arts, sorry if I slaughtered that, is still around, and they even have a homepage, a pretty nice one at that. It's available in French and in English, and they even have a mission statement on their homepage. Apparently they work to contribute to the defense, promotion and development of France's artistic heritage while respecting the plurality of expression. You know what, that sounds like a bunch of pretty decent folks over there. So, thumbs up for the Académie des Beaux-Arts, I guess. And for that impressionist revolution he was talking about that, well, never officially happened or anything, but he might be referring to the first official impressionist exhibition in Paris, which was held in 1874, and was indeed held to give an alternative to the Academy's Salon Prize, as well as the critical mainstream of the time. And as such things usually go, it was critically panned in the beginning.
Today everybody loves the Impressionists. And as with most revolutions, the first generation or so produced work of genuine merit. Monet, Renoir, and Degas still maintained elements of disciplined design and execution.
Okay, I don't really have to say anything against that. Those are all three pretty good artists. And you actually remember to give their names? And the names of the paintings? Wow, that's almost the correct way of citing a work of art. One could almost think that guy is starting to take this video seriously, but then, well, how do I put this? Behold, the world's most silly infographic.
But with each new generation, standards declined until there were no standards. All that was left was personal expression.
So, yeah, here it is. Wow, this surely is a piece of art. But for a moment, let us pretend this is actually a real diagram that means something and stuff. Alright, the one axis labeled year seems to be pretty self-explanatory, but, to get any sort of viable data from this, we would need, I don't know, something on the other axis. I mean, there's the word standard, but thanks to the giant orange arrow labeled art reduced to personal expression, I think we don't need any of those pesky numbers and dates to wrap our heads around what this diagram is supposed to mean. As you can clearly see, somewhere around the 70s, I mean, who needs exact dates, am I right? Art just took a straight up nosedive down the shitter and there was never a good painting or movie or play or book or anything ever again. I mean, that's common knowledge, isn't it? And all of that just because we decided to just use art for pointless shit like self-expression instead of
The great art historian Jacob Rosenberg wrote that quality in art is not merely a matter of personal opinion, but to a high degree objectively traceable.
Whoa. This quote looks kind of fishy. I guess with that we have reached the informative part of this video. Yay! As you can see, the quote picks up in the middle of a sentence, and there seems to be a bit missing right after the word degree. Also, while the video is telling us who is quoted, there is no mention of from where exactly the quote is taken. In a proper academic setting, we would at least also get the title of the publication the quote was taken from and a page number or something. Luckily, this is the age of the internet, and if you come across a fishy quote, it's oftentimes a good advice to just throw it into Google. And guess what? That's what I did. This way I found out that while he isn't really all that easy to find, Jacob Rosenberg was indeed a German art historian and Rembrandt expert who lived from 1893 till 1980. I also found out that the quote given in the video is mangled beyond belief. While there are websites which have the quote as it is presented in the video, one of them is a Catholic page which just mirrors the PragerU video's script, and the other one is a bit more concerning because it's an article from this year 2018, which on the surface doesn't have any connection to PragerU, but pretty much parrots all their points from this video, including examples we haven't even seen yet. And this is why I wanted to do a reply to a video from 2015. Even after 3 years, people are still using this, people are still quoting this, despite it being blatantly false. Here, I found the original quote, and now I'm going to read it for you. Artistic value, or quality, in a work of art is not merely a matter of personal opinion, but to a high degree a matter of common agreement amongst artistically sensitive and trained observers. Our value judgment is a composite of subjective and objective elements. Subjective, I call those which are the purely personal response of an individual. Objective, those which are agreed upon by trained observers and therefore meet with general acceptance. This quote, by the way, is taken from On Quality in Art, Criteria of Excellence, Past and Present, written of course by Jacob Rosenberg, published in 1967 by Princeton University Press. So, the keen and scientifically minded amongst you might have noticed that the original quote actually goes against what the guy in the video is saying. First off, in the PragerU version, they decided to just end the quote before the part where Rosenberg explicitly restates that he thinks objective and subjective elements both play an important role in the evaluation of art. And then there's of course the middle part about artistically sensitive and trained observers, which they decided to also cut out, most likely just out of habit at that point. Congratulations! You've not only managed to break down the original quote to only about 22% of its original word count, but you've also completely inverted the meaning. If you were to pull shit like that in a term paper or something, you'd fail. Now, since I only know him through this quote, I didn't read any more of Rosenberg's book, mind you, so I don't really know if I would agree with the criteria he gives for the objective parts of artistic evaluation, or if he even gives such criteria. But from this quote alone, I believe that this man had a much better grasp of what the art world actually is than anybody working at PragerU.
But the idea of a universal standard of quality in art is now usually met with strong resistance, if not open ridicule.
Oh golly, those orange buzzwords are back. Quick, meet them with ridicule and resistance. Seriously though, my problem with your argument is not that the standard you propose is somewhat stuffy, although I really like that word, but that until this point you just failed to give any sort of standard to go by.
How can art be objectively measured? I'm challenged. In responding, I simply point to the artistic results produced by universal standards compared to what is produced by relativism.
And that's most likely the point in the conversation where the person who just asked you that question walks away shrugging their shoulders because you just started to point at random pieces of art again. Is it so much harder to just give us criteria for your standard, or just describe your standard in the first place, than showing us all those random paintings and statues? I mean, even the ones you've shown as examples for good art aren't even from the same artistic periods. Most of the paintings you showed, for example, seem to be from the Baroque era, while the statues you present, or at least the Dying Gaul for sure, seem to mostly stem from antiquity. Those were both time periods with wildly different standards in art. So, are you going to finally give us some solid criteria for your standard? You're just going to point at some more paintings? Well, okay then.
The former gave the world the birth of Venus and the Dying Gaul, while the latter has given us the Holy Virgin Mary, fashioned with cow dung and pornographic images, and Petra, the prize-winning sculpture of a policewoman squatting and urinating, complete with a puddle of synthetic urine.
So here we once again have some pieces of art which are now being compared. On one hand we have the previously mentioned Dying Gaul, an antique statue that most likely was originally commissioned about 200 years before Jesus. And also the Birth of Venus, a Renaissance painting which is about 1600 years younger. And on the other hand, we have some randomly cherry-picked pieces of modern art, which no doubt are in this video because they are especially controversial. To shield us from the bad influence of this horrible modern art, PragerU was once more nice enough to omit the names of the artists as well as make no written mention of the piece's titles. Another reason to omit those might have been that with a bit of research one would actually find that the first of those horrible pieces of degenerate modern art actually makes a pretty good case against the old guy's argument. Luckily I have tracked down both pieces online, and due to their controversial nature there were plenty of articles one can turn to when trying to understand those pieces of art and their intended meaning. So let's talk about the Holy Virgin Mary first. And right off the bat, let me tell you, there is no cow dung involved in this picture anywhere. It's elephant dung. 3 spheres of dried elephant dung to be exact. 2 of them are holding the picture in place, while the third one is inserted into the middle of the canvas, forming the Virgin Mary's right breast. So in how far does this painting make a case against the PragerU video, you might wonder? Well, first off, the painting was created as a direct reaction to some of the neoclassicist and baroque religious artworks, which our friend in this here video would most certainly hold up as shining examples for his ominous standard of art. And secondly, the aspect of them the creator of this painting wanted to criticize was the exact same thing his own work would be criticized for later. Obscenity. A quote from the artist, an individual by the name of Chris O'Feely, taken from an artnews.com article I will link for you in the description, reads the following. As an altar boy, I was confused by the idea of a Holy Virgin Mary giving birth to a young boy. Now, when I go to the National Gallery and see paintings of the Virgin Mary, I see how sexually charged they are. Mine is simply a hip-hop version. The article goes on to explain that the butterflies featured in the painting, which are by the way made of photographs of naked women's asses taken from porn magazines, are meant to parody the artistic trope of puttos or cherubs. You know, those creepy little naked baby angels you sometimes find on old paintings or your aunt's coffee table. Another notable fact about this painting is that it is so controversial that at one point it pissed off Rudy Giuliani so much that he threatened to have the Museum of Modern Art in New York closed for showing the painting. So my final verdict for the painting is 9 out of 10 Rudy Giuliani heads, and I totally would put that up in my apartment if I had any room or money for that. So then let's move on to the second piece, Petra, a statue of a urinating policewoman. It was created by German sculptor and art student Marcel Walldorf as his entry for an art exhibition and competition held by the Leimann Stiftung für Bildende Kunst in Leipzig in 2011. There it not only won a prize, but also raised a big controversy due to being allegedly misogynistic. The piece was also criticized by other artists on the exhibition for being too sensationalist and allegedly trying to win through sheer shock value. Later on in the whole ordeal, the mainstream media, who of course jumped on the story about the scandalous statue, also received heavy criticism for only reporting on the controversial statue rather than the entire exhibition. Otherwise, not much interesting can be said about Petra, other than it most likely only earned a spot in this video due to its controversial nature. Overall, I think this piece of art is much less interesting than the Holy Virgin Mary. So yeah, 3 out of 10 Rudy Giuliani heads, wouldn't buy. What does all of this have to do again with the universal standard of art? Well, really not much, I guess, because the very next argument in the video is something completely unrelated about Jason Pollock. But hey, at least I got to talk about some weird pieces of art, and isn't that the most important thing here?
Without aesthetic standards, we have no way to determine quality or inferiority. Here's a test I give my graduate students, all talented and well-educated.
If that's the case, I really wonder why they're hanging out with you. But all jokes aside, I find it kind of scary that a person who has such big problems with giving correct sources is in a teaching position. So I guess let's do your little test first, and then I'll poke around in your credentials and see if I can dig up any dirt.
Please analyze this Jackson Pollock painting and explain why it is good.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry to tell you, but I think you've been duped. This doesn't really look like a Jason Pollock painting, but more like somebody's paint-soaked Dobby cosplay. But well, I guess I have to make this entertaining somehow, so I'll analyze it. The strongly pronounced structure of the canvas, together with a heavy concentration of dark colors in the corner of the picture, give the painting an overall gloomy and foreboding atmosphere, which is then broken up by the sporadic blotches of bluish and yellowish color, which might represent the aspirations and dreams of the artist, fleeing the oppressive miasma of dark colors likely there to represent societal norms and expectations. Or this is simply not a Pollock at all, but you're a Pillock. Anyhow, asking your students not to analyze the picture but to describe why it is good, thus implying some form of artistic merit in the question itself? You sneaky bastard, you sure as hell know how to make your students say what you want them to say. But I don't believe you're telling us about how you like trolling art students for no reason at all, so how does this relate to your argument?
It is only after they give very eloquent answers that I inform them that the painting is actually a close-up of my studio apron.
Oh, crikey, I thought it would be something stupid like that. But the fact that your students weren't able to tell the difference doesn't exactly speak for your efficiency as a teacher.
I don't blame them. I would probably have done the same, since it's nearly impossible to differentiate between the two.
I'm not blaming them, I'm blaming you, didn't you listen? I mean, no you didn't, because you're just a person in a video clip, but geez, I mean, you really like shitting on other artists' work, don't you? You know what? I've had it with you. Now you're going to get some of your own medicine. That's right, I'm going to see what you did with your life. I'll pull the skeletons out of your closet and go through your dirty laundry, and with that I mean I'm going to Google your name. I'm Rudy Giuliani. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video. I am Rudy Giuliani. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video. I am Rudy Giuliani. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video.
Well, the silly and the pointless sense are purely offensive. Though we might change our name, our next song is called This Song is Offensive. And a 1, and a 2, and... thing after 2. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless, purely offensive. This song is pointless, purely offensive. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is pointless, pointless and offensive. This song is silly and offensive. This song is silly and offensive. This song is silly and very much offensive to me.
Mona Lisa,
Pointless and offensive.
Baroque paintings,
Pointless and offensive.
an objective standard of artistic perfection imposed by society.
Pointless and offensive. inoffensive. This song is pointless. Pointless and offensive. Purely offensive. Purely offensive. This song is pointless. Pointless and offensive. To me!